I don't care who you are, no matter who you're pitching to, no matter what you're trying to get people to buy. Saying you need to have it, you need to buy it just because is not a good enough reason. It's just not compelling. Hey, it's Brianna. I haven't been on the podcast for a while, and I thought I would try a couple new things I've been thinking about and wanting to experiment with. And I took about 3 weeks off from the podcast, and I think it's been really good. I have had time to think about what I really want to do with it, what I really am trying to accomplish. And that kind of changes every day. I think that's the nature of people. As the world is constantly changing every day, kind of our desires are changing. And what we were expecting was going to happen isn't really what happened. But that's okay, because I still love the podcast. I've been really missing recording. And so today I just thought, you know what? I'm not even going to put in music. My door's not even closed to my room right now. I should probably close it before my husband walks in. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to record this really quick. It's on my mind. And get it out there to you because I miss you. I know. I don't know you. But I mean, I have something to say, and I just want to be, this is different today. You're kind of getting a grab bag. Normally, I would be talking to creative people and designers, but today I'm speaking from my experience as a Christian. So every Sunday, typically, my husband and I attend North Coast Church over here in San Diego, and we had an interesting sermon today about the money sermon. You know, the money sermon? You're like, oh no, not another money sermon where they're going to tell me how I need to give all my money to God. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of different approaches to this type of sermon. Usually they kind of all start to sound the same after a while, and I get it. I know that it's really important to invest in your community, and it's really important to invest in, especially if you're using the resources at the church, it's really important to give back. And that's why my husband and I give back. And I know that every time we hear one of these types of sermons, we do kind of think about, are we giving enough? But something my husband and I were talking about as we were walking out and kind of going to the car, like, what did you think about the sermon today? I wanted to kind of bring this idea that I think goes across. It doesn't matter if you're a designer. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian. It doesn't matter if you're married. It kind of just applies to everything. Like I said, no matter who you're trying to convince to do something, you need a more compelling reason than just because. But that was kind of like this underlying theme of the sermon today. You need to give because, not because of the cause. I'm not saying it exactly how our pastor said it, but you can't, it's almost like he was saying, oh, if it's for the cause, it's not good, but if it's just because, then that's better. I know this isn't the Church of Brianna, but I think most people would disagree. My husband made a really, really good point. He said that church is the only thing that we give to, that like when we're giving money, you don't really know what it's going to. You go to the store and you're buying something. Okay, maybe you don't know how it's going to work exactly when you're going to the store and buying something, but typically you know what you're buying. You have a general expectation of what you're going to get from that money. It doesn't mean that whatever you're buying is going to have a return on investment, kind of like what Larry was talking about in the sermon. He was saying, oh, we have to feel like we're going to get a return on investment. I don't think either me or my husband are expecting something when we hear that sermon, when we give something to the church, but we do want to feel like it's going to something good. And we know that our church has a lot of good things going on, and that's why we choose to give back. But my husband, I just really love that point that he made. It's like, you're not really sure, like, when we gave our X number of dollars to the church this month, did it go to the building? Did it go to the children's ministry? Who did it go to? Where did it go? How did it impact people? That would be really, really cool to know. And if I knew for a fact how my money was impacting people, maybe I would want to give more. If they said, if you gave $5 more and the children's ministry could have had something even better than what you gave them, maybe I would be more compelled than you should just give it just because, because it's God. Currently, the interesting thing is that we're doing a study on Exodus. So, really clever way of how he snuck it in there. He was talking about it for so long, I'm almost not even really sure. I'd love to give you a summary of how it related to Exodus, but I'm honestly, I couldn't tell you. Admittedly, I was doodling. If you look all over my notes, I was kind of doodling all over my paper, but I generally always do that. But I really can't tell you how that applied. I'm looking over the notes here to see if I could find some kind of connection. I know he was talking about the sons of the Jews becoming like priests, and somehow that connected into it. I'm sorry. So I don't want to give you a full synopsis of the sermon, but I'll just go over a few bullet points that kind of stuck with me. So one of the things that Larry talked about that I did agree with, to kind of give the sermon, the notes, some credit, is that if I dishonor God with my leftovers, he will make sure there's nothing left over. Well, I believe that this is true in all scenarios. Have you ever been to a classroom and you walk in and the teacher says, you're going to get whatever you put into this class, that's what you're going to get back? That's kind of generally a good principle, no matter whether you're talking about tithing to a church or if you're talking about a relationship. It's Valentine's Day today. Happy Valentine's Day. Generally, whatever you put into your relationship, they say you'll get back. And sometimes you don't always see it, and that's what gets a little bit discouraging. And I think that's why some people don't always tithe so much to the church, because it's not clear what you're getting back from it. See, my husband just started the laundry machine. I'm going to close the door. I don't know how much that's going to help, but I'm back. So, let's see, where did I miss my notes now? Okay, another good thing that I agreed with that Larry said was that if you don't start now, then you're not going to start tomorrow. Well, he said, if I don't start now, then I won't start tomorrow. And he gave a good example of how he had more money in his date fund than he did in his God fund. And he knew if he didn't start doing it right away that he wasn't going to do it ever. This, again, has a lot of good crossovers over design. Like, I know if I don't start a habit of designing every day or doing something creative every day to keep my love for design going, I know if I don't do that perpetually every day, I'm eventually just going to stop doing it, and I'm probably not even going to identify as a designer after so many weeks, because I'm going to become unfamiliar with it. I'm going to become forgetful, and I'm probably going to identify with whatever new habits I'm adopting. So I did like that, particularly from the sermon. Now, I have some ideas on what you do need to do when you're trying to get money from the church. My personal ideas, something I told my husband is, I remember being in San Diego Christian College. I went there for 1 year of my many years of college. And one day we had a presentation by Invisible Children, and they were doing a call to get people to donate to their cause. But they had a whole video of what the story was behind the children and what exactly your money was going to. And that was really compelling to me. They pretty much sold me on the idea. They didn't even have to. They probably wouldn't have even had to ask, could you give money? I might have asked. Although that was a couple years ago. I'm not exactly sure what happened. But another thing is that's really good is my husband, he likes to, before we were married, he was giving to Compassion International. And they send you letters every, I don't know, we don't get them very often, but they send you letters of the child you're supporting. And I think that's super cool because it's like, oh, so this is the kid that we're giving money to. This is how they're growing up. And they give you like a little status update. Those little markers are super helpful in making me feel like, oh, like our money is going to something good. And not to say that, oh, you shouldn't have to get those reports in order to want to give money. Okay, that's true. I shouldn't, but I'll probably give more or continue giving if I am getting those reports, so that when I have to cut back on money, I'm looking at the face of the child. I know this actually happened. My husband and I were talking about taking the money from Compassion International and giving the money to a different cause. And I said, I don't know, like I really want to give it to whatever it was. I don't even remember what it was. And he was like, but look, and he gets the picture of the kid and he's like, this is the child that we're not going to be supporting anymore if we re-delegate our funds. And that tangible, something I could see to how I was going to be impacting if I shifted my funds, kept me saying, okay, you're right. We'll just have to find the money somewhere else or get extra money by doing something else. So I don't want to slam this message too hard, but I just really thought that there are some good takeaways that we could take away as Christians, and as, this, if you think about it in multiple ways, if you change the analogies just a little bit, this could go over many platforms of design and marriage. Like if I'm talking about marriage, for instance, if I'm trying to tell my husband that I want to buy a dress for a wedding, this has happened plenty of times. I will typically buy a dress that I think my husband would really like. It's like a red dress, or it's cut in a certain way that I know he likes. And yeah, maybe that means a lot of my dresses still look the same, or maybe, it's not like my most favorite dress. But if I'm really wanting a new dress for the wedding and I think that's like a pretty cool dress and I know he'd like it too, he's more likely to say, yeah, go ahead and buy it. I really like that, and I know another place we can wear it too. And I know some ladies I've actually told that to, they disagree. They're like, you should be able to buy whatever you want. Okay, yeah, go ahead, buy whatever you want. But my husband is more excited to go out with me when I wear those dresses. And I'm more excited because I know I'm making him happy and I got a new dress. So, like I said, depending on how you look at this message could go across multiple platforms. In terms of design, I think of the client. I think of if I'm trying to, I've been working tirelessly trying to find unique ways to really speak to people and find out what is it that I know how to do that other people want. And because if I just go out there, I've done this plenty of times in the last couple months where I'm like, oh, I think that people would really want this. And really it's maybe something I would want. So I'm thinking other people would want it. But like what I want is there's so little, there's so few of me is what I mean that want the same things as me. So if I go out there with an attitude of like, oh, I'm just going to tell them what I want just because, maybe they'll click on it because it looks interesting. No, people don't click on things just because. They click on things that they want to buy because they already know they want it. It's like fulfilling something inside of them that they feel like is missing. And nobody has this, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, I have this hole. I just went out and bought this dress just because I didn't, well, okay, maybe if it's a dress, women are just like, because it's really cute. But see, even that is still a reason, because it's cute. You never like said, oh, well, I bought a dress because, just because it's a dress. You bought it because it's on sale. You bought it because it's cute. You bought it because you're going on a date. You didn't buy it just because. Nobody does things just because. So I just thought that was a really, really interesting take to make on this type of sermon. How, maybe some critics that are listening to me right now might say, okay, what's your solution, Brianna? How do you tell all the churches to do that? I'm glad you asked, actually. I was thinking about it when I was walking my dog. And I actually think that there's quite a few things about the church that I would be interested to see them develop over time, or just be curious to see how they would work out. One of those things being small groups. We have small groups in our church. And I feel like small groups are a great way to connect with people who, it's like you see all these big faces, you see all these big groups of people coming into the big church on the sanctuary on Sunday, but you don't really know any of them very well. So that's why small groups are good. And our church encourages us to be in small groups that are of, what do they call it? Age and stage of life, right? Age and stage of life. And so we're in a group that's like young marrieds, which is super cool. Love our group. But I've been curious is, what if there was a small group that was your career? Same career as you. How cool would that be? For me personally, that would be super cool, because I don't know anybody in my family that is trying to have the type of career that I want to have. Entrepreneurial, creative, from home, none of those things, well, very few of those things that my family currently does that I could pull experience and knowledge from. But if I went to a small group for career-based small groups instead of age and stage of life, then I could be in a group with a wide range of, maybe people are retired already in that category. Maybe people are just starting out like me, or they're kind of like they've been going, but they're trying to grow. Maybe some people are just starting out. Maybe some people are just interested. Maybe some people are growing. And we could all come together and just have all these great ideas, and we could all go and learn from each other in different ways. Or for those who are already in it, I could revitalize them with my new and fresh ideas, and we could all grow together in that way. And then who knows, maybe we'll all go out and make more money, so when we hear these money messages, we actually have money to spend, right? No. This is just a fun episode for me, because I'm just gonna put it out there. It's kind of like a diary podcast today. It's not like this is episode number 17, even though I labeled it like that in my archives just so I can go back to it for easy reference. I just thought I'd try something a little bit more unique, kind of off the cuff. I've been doing, I have actually recorded 2 episodes since the last publishing, but they were like fully scripted. I was reading it exactly off of the paper, and they were short, they were boring, and so I just thought, I have one little document here with a couple bullet points I'm reading off of. For the most part, I'm just talking. So hopefully this is more interesting and fun. So I'm going to go to the next point here. Oh, yes. So my husband and I are going through, he's taking a class right now, and he's reading this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I love that book. I love it. And I actually listened to it on audiobooks a couple years ago. I loved it so much, I'm listening to it twice. Now I'm listening to it for a 3rd time, but this time, instead of like going through the whole book and listening to it all the way straight through, I'm listening to the chapters multiple times throughout the week, the same one, chapter 1 again, chapter 1 again, chapter 1 again, because I find that when I do that more consistently throughout the week, then chapter 1 actually sticks with me because I have time to apply it. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, or if you know me personally, you know I just like consume podcasts. I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of podcasts just over the last 2 years. I'm constantly listening to a new episode. And what that means is like I'm constantly getting new information and not always applying the information right away that I get. So as I've been listening to this How to Win Friends and Influence People book, I think part of the reason why I'm bringing you this particular topic today is because I really loved one of the points that Dale Carnegie, the writer, makes in his book. And I think this was from chapter 2. He says, people like to feel like they're buying something because they want to. They don't want to feel like they're being sold to. Now, that's not like an exact quote, but that was pretty much a summary of what he said. And so that's kind of how I felt today when I was sitting in the pews, the supposed pews, they're actually just chairs that are all linked together. That's kind of how I was feeling today as I was sitting in church, is I feel like he was trying to sell me something. And not only was he trying to sell me something, but he was telling me to do it just because. I don't know. I had a couple thoughts about that. That's why I'm here. Oh, here it is. This is another example of something quantifiable and tangible. These are the two things that I believe that you need when you're going to sell something to somebody. It has to have these two components. It needs to be quantifiable and it needs to be tangible. Because it's more compelling when it has these two qualities. Like at Christmas time, they made a whole Christmas tree full of little ornaments that you could pull off the tree. And when you pulled it off, it said like, if you give $15, you will buy a gift card for a mom who is a single mom and needs money for her groceries. Or maybe you could even pick one off that says, spend $50 and send one of our high schoolers to a Christian camp. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, I feel good because I'm sending somebody to Christian camp. And I remember when I wanted to go to Christian camp and I couldn't afford it. Quantifiable had a number, either 50 or 15 or something that you feel like is a good price range. And tangible, something that I could see. Like, oh, I could see that high schooler going to that church or going to that camp and the experiences they had because I was there one time. And that's the other thing as I'm kind of thinking through this Stream of Consciousness podcast is I got to pick what person we were going to bless off of the tree based off of what was most relevant to my own life. And I get that if there's maybe more people in a certain church that identify as a single mom or identify as someone who needs to give towards the high school ministry because for some reason like they identify most with high school students, obviously there's going to be like a discrepancy of like, oh wow, so we have a ton of money to go to the high school, but now we have no money for the single moms, or the other way around, or the many ways that could play out. I get that that's why we have like general funds, but if you say that could just go right into that quantifiable thing. We had all the money that's covered for high school. If you still have money and you want to give to this other thing that is in high need, give it to this. Still quantifiable, still tangible. All right. Well, I am getting towards the end of my stream of consciousness here, and I feel like I went over a lot of things, and I just feel good. It feels good to get something out. That's the fun thing about having a podcast, and it's so easy to just put it up on SoundCloud. You just can talk on your microphone, and I don't know. I guess I just feel like not enough people feel comfortable. They feel like they don't have the right to speak out on these platforms. And so part of the reason why I'm doing this is for myself, but part of the reason why I'm doing this is to kind of remind people who might be listening is you don't always have to have the fancy music. You don't always have to have like the perfect thing to say and all the edits and all of that. Sometimes you can just talk, and that's exactly what somebody else needs. So I hope if you were that person who you're just like, Brianna, I needed this today. Thank you. I was right on board with you. I've heard that sermon 1,000 times and I agree with you 100%. If you want to send me your thoughts about how you think you could fix it, cool. Awesome. I'm glad I started the conversation. I'd love to hear from you, even if I don't know you. And if you have something that you want to say and you don't want to have to do all the fancy stuff to do it, go get a blog. Go make your own podcasts on SoundCloud or however you want to do it, and just experiment and have fun and take hold of this awesome freedom and ability that we have. And maybe the haters will come, but hey, that's the beauty that they have their voices too, I guess. Last week's sermon was rejoice in everything, so there we go. Hey, and maybe I'll make some more of these because this is a ton of fun. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to my stream of consciousness if you've even made it this far through. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again soon. I'm super excited. I'm going to do another interview. I'm interviewing my friend this Wednesday, and she has her own business. She's a designer, and I'm going to talk to her more about it and get all of her wisdom and kind of share all the inspiration she has to bring to the world. So until then, have a great Sunday and happy Valentine's Day.